Welcome to Payments Unpacked on Substack Live. You know, we've tried much ado about payments on YouTube. We've tried Payments on the Tangent as a podcast. And today I thought I'd give Payments Unpacked on Substack Live a go. I've called it Friday Focus. I'm going to talk about a few things. I can see some people have joined already. Welcome. That's amazing. I didn't announce today. I thought I'd try it and hopefully speak to myself, but thank you for joining. If you've got some questions about payments, drop them in the comments below and I'll cover them. But as we think about payments this week, I've got a few things to share with you on this Payments Unpacked Live. The first is we've been talking on Payments Unpacked a lot about cheques this week. You know, those paper things been with us for 330 years. Did you know peak cheque in the United Kingdom was 4 billion transactions back in 1990? Well, a lot's happened in the 36 years since 1990. Last year, on the 12 months to January 2026, so virtually the whole of 25 plus 1 month, only 77 million cheques were written here in the UK. I had a quick look at the Office of National Statistics about how many people lived in the United Kingdom. If I take the volume of cheques processed a year in the United Kingdom, I divide it by the number of people that live in the United Kingdom, it's about 0.9 cheques for every man, woman and child in the country in a year. We're writing less than one cheque. I don't know the last time you paid something with a cheque. Well, I can't find my checkbook, so I don't have a choice. If you bank with one of the challenger banks, you probably didn't get a checkbook. And if you bank with a legacy bank, you probably have to ask quite nicely to get one. So I wondered when you last thought about writing a cheque as opposed to making a payment digitally. Did you know in Denmark, it's not cheques, it's the Royal Mail, it's their equivalent, it's letters. The Denmark, they're thinking about stopping delivering mail across the country. With the UK, we've had mail since Victorian times. I don't know how long in Denmark, I suspect just about the same sort of time, and they're thinking about getting rid of it. Why? Because nobody uses it. Well, if we're only doing 0.9 cheques a year each in the UK on average, perhaps we don't need the cheque. In addition to that, in Australia, they're thinking of getting rid of the cheque. Singapore, I think, have got rid of it for business-to-business cheques. And as I've said before on Payments Unpacked, perhaps now is the time to display the cheque in the Museum of Curiosity, or at the very least, in the Bank of England Museum over down there in London in Threadneedle Street. If one thing we need to talk about payments as we think about the new world of payments in the United Kingdom, it's the humble cheque. It's that piece of paper. Are you up for the conversation? I certainly am. As I said, this is an unannounced Substack Live. I don't know what you think of it. Please let me know. If you've got a question, drop a question in the comments. I haven't quite seen where they appear on the screen yet, but I'm sure they will sometimes, somewhere. We've also been talking about CHAPS and opening hours this week on Payments Unpacked. A while ago, I was the chief executive of the CHAPS payment scheme here in the UK. And almost every morning, every Monday morning, around about 6:30, sometimes 5:30, my phone would ring. It would be an automated message and it would say, "Mike Chambers, CHAPS has successfully launched," or "there's been a delay in settlement." Every Monday morning, it felt like, in the early hours of the morning. Well, we've just seen the Bank of England announce that from later this year, they're going to open the settlement window for CHAPS RTGS to 01:30 hours in the morning. I guess from a settlements perspective, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? A lot of trade goes on in the East. We're in a fantastic time zone here in the UK, being very the centre. There's a concept of following the sun. The availability of a CHAPS sterling settlement window early in the hours of the day, to me makes a lot of sense for those trades. You possibly could argue it for the euro sterling legs as well, but an hour, not sure it makes a difference. Now, as the sun sets over in the west, what about extending the CHAPS window later in the day? Well, that's not for now. The Bank of England only announced the earlier opening window, but we might see it open later. There's going to be a consultation from the Bank of England in this spring, an opportunity to feed back to the Bank of England about why we might need a longer CHAPS day here in the UK, both for UK traffic and perhaps for time zones west, particularly the mighty US dollar. This is an Ask Me Anything. It's a drop-in session from Payments Unpacked. I've called it Friday Focus here on Substack Unpacked, live on Payments Unpacked on Substack Live. It's the first one we've done, so let's see how it goes. The other thing we've been talking about this week on Payments Unpacked is about Sweden. And the Swedish central bank this week said, given the turmoil that's in the country, given in the world, given the dependency we have on digital payments, they urged their population to think about holding enough cash at home that would be enough to buy the goods and services, the essential supplies they might need within 1 week. The Swedish central bank suggested, I don't know, perhaps 1,000 krona. Don't know why they chose 1,000 krona, but if you don't know how much 1,000 krona is, I did a quick check on Google. It's about £80 sterling. So they're saying have about £80 at home, just in case the payment systems fail, the digital payments go down, online payments don't exist, and you need your morning latte or your tank of fuel. That said, can you buy a latte and a tank of fuel for 80 quid? Not so sure. Depends what you drive, I guess. But in addition to having enough cash for goods and services, those essential services, they're saying, well, you might carry around your tokenized card in an Apple Pay or a Google Pay in a wallet on your phone, but think about carrying the physical card as well in case the payment system's going down. And they're saying, as well as that, given the dependency we have on two global card schemes, a Visa and MasterCard, why don't you take a Visa card and a MasterCard out in a physical form every time you go out? So it's quite interesting advice from the Swedish central bank. It just got me wondering about if I was going to take the advice and in the UK, what would I do? How much cash would I need for 1 week to buy those goods and services that I might see as essential? I don't know. I asked a poll. We did a poll on Payments Unpacked, and in the poll's still live if you want to. If you go to payments-unpacked.com, you can take part in the poll. 25% of people that have responded presently said, well, I'd carry over £300. Not a bad lifestyle, but they would think they need 300. You start thinking about it, 80, 90 quid for a tank of fuel, £4 or £5 for a coffee every day, bit of lunch from Pret. It soon adds up. But conversely, 19% said between £0 and £50. A very different understanding of how much cash they might need if our payment system goes down. But then we asked the second question. Our second question said, in light of what's going on in the world, and you may have read the stuff from the Swedish central bank, are you holding more cash at the moment just in case something goes wrong? And I have to say, I'm in the no category here. I don't use cash, haven't touched cash in years and years and years. But in the no category, I think it says 25%, I can't see in my notes, but 20 odd percent said, no, not changing my behaviour. 13% said, I'm not sure, I don't know what to do. Perhaps I should be holding a bit more cash. I'm not sure. But do you know what that leaves if you do the sum? 63% of people who have answered the poll. It's a small number, so add to the poll, payments-unpacked.com. 63% said, yeah, I'm holding more cash just in case the payments go down because of just general things happening or because of this worldwide turmoil that's presently going on. I was gobsmacked. I probably wasn't gobsmacked about the different levels of money because people think, well, I might need this, I might need that. Different lifestyles, different view on cash. But 63%, albeit a small number, said, I'm holding more cash now than I did perhaps a little while ago because of the turmoil in the world. That amazed me. Don't know what you think. If you think, what do you think about that? Drop in the comments. Let me know. This is a Friday Focus from Payments Unpacked. We're live on Substack Live. Drop me some comments in the question. If you want to ask a question, ask the question. We've talked about, we've done much ado about payments on YouTube. We've done payments on a tangent on podcast. I'm giving Substack Live a go. If this works for you, please let me know. We went on a visit this week. We're on a visit. It's the first time probably in my career that my payments life and my personal life have converged. If that's the case, it can only be banking hubs are coming to town. In our local town, Santander is about to leave. I think it's the 18th of March they shut. That means that following a link review, we're going to get a brand new spanking banking hub. It'll probably be the 210th or 215th one in the UK. But whatever, for the people in Malden who want to do face-to-face banking, it's going to make a big difference because you're okay if you've got a Santander account in Malden presently, but not if you bank with other people. Now, I went there on the day of opening. It hadn't been announced. It was a temporary hub because the permanent premises aren't ready yet. So I went straight in the morning. I could have been the first customer to use it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a physical card. And to transact at a banking hub, you need a physical card. Goes back to my previous question about the Swedish central bank, doesn't it? About always carrying a physical card. But I was going to go and draw a tenner out to be the first customer. Unfortunately, I couldn't because I only had my phone with me. But it's great. We've seen a temporary hub arranged in Malden in Essex, much like a whole host of towns right across the United Kingdom. And we're now going to see it move to a permanent hub in the next few months. If you're local to Malden, your guess is as good as mine about where that's going to be. If you look at the criteria of accessibility and being the footfall and all the rest of it, there aren't many premises left after the barbers and the nail bars have ticked off, and a couple of gyms and the jewellers have nicked Barclays and the old Barclays and the NatWest premises. But maybe it'll go into Santander off that's closed. Maybe it'll go somewhere else. I don't know. But we look forward to, as we say goodbye to Santander and hello to the banking hub, we look forward to the temporary hub becoming a permanent hub in the UK. In Malden, in the UK, 200, and you know what I mean, in Malden. On Payments Unpacked this week, we've also been talking about faster payments. For a lot of us, faster payments is now just hygiene. It's just been around. It's just the way we make payments. In reality, the life before 2008, sending money between two accounts was incredibly different and difficult. Did you know that instead of faster payments, we nearly got ELLE? ELLE was called a Swedish model. Hey, everything seems to be going back to the Swedish central bank this week, doesn't it? But ELLE, our Swedish model, stood for early, late, late, early. And the idea there was if you sent a payment into the banking system early in the day, it would be paid in the afternoon. If you sent it later in the day, it would be paid next morning. We very nearly ended up with ELLE here in the UK. I guess it would have been good as an acronym, but rubbish as a payment product. But at the very last moment, the banks came together and changed the view on what it should be, and Faster Payments was born. And Faster Payments was a 2-hour SLA. 2-hour SLA of the payment would be made from debit to credit, a chunk of settlement cycles. But in reality, we delivered an instant payment because you and I get the money almost straight away when somebody sends it, notwithstanding the settlement might happen at a little bit of a different time. It's a shame we called it faster payments because there's a good question that says faster than what? But we couldn't recall it instant because the promise wasn't instant. We couldn't really call it immediate, firstly because someone else owned the name Immediate Payment Service, but secondly because we weren't promising immediate. This is one example where the service level agreement and reality is vastly different to our advantage. So 18 years later, I would say we're in a much better position having faster payments than we would have been if we had ELLE. The transformation of faster payments, the growth, is it 4 million, 5 billion transactions, whatever it is now, being processed by faster payments, a massive transformation in the way that we make payments. This is Friday Focus from Payments Unpacked. We're live on Substack Live. If you've just joined us, this is the first time we've done YouTube videos called Much Ado About Payments. We've done podcasts called Payments on a Tangent, and here we're trying Friday Focus on Substack Live. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Send me a note. If you've got a question you want me to answer, drop it in the comments. I'm sure they'll pop up on my screen somewhere that somebody's asked a question. I can see the people have joined, but I can't see any questions yet. So either give me a thumbs up if you can hear me or drop me a question. On Payments Unpacked, the newsletter, if you don't subscribe, you'll find us at payments-unpacked.com. On Payments Unpacked, we don't really do competitions. We don't really do that sort of thing. But every now and again, we ask a question. We ask for contributions. And just a few days ago, we ran a thing about flash fiction. If you've not come across flash fiction previously, it's an idea that's attributed to Ernest Hemingway, the writer, but in reality and frankly probably never came from Ernest Hemingway. But the idea is create a story that's live, that's compelling, that's tangible, but only using 6 words. So an impactful story just in 6 words. We've had 3 entries just this last couple of days. The question was, describe open banking in 6 words. Create a flash fiction story about open banking in 6 words. Mike Fuller said, simply from your account to mine. Thanks, Mike. James Sherwin-Smith said, I'm being a little bit sarcastic here, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He said, opportunities often hyped, but rarely delivered. And the third one I pull out from the contributions are for John Winchcombe. John said, do you have any real money? Thanks, John, James, and Mike for your contributions. Flash fiction, 6 words, impactful story about open banking, what would you call? What 6-word story, flash fiction story would you do for open banking? Send it to me at flashfiction@northypoint.co.uk. This morning, we published a guest blog from John Bertrand. John appears on Payments Unpacked every now and again. Always produces a blog that's worth thinking about, that gives us a good idea, something to mull over the coming days. And today, we published John's guest blog about the stablecoin. I'm not going to go into the detail now. It's already getting coverage on Substack. Sam Buboff has liked it. Great, thanks, Sam. Others are following, and we've had loads of reads, over thousands this morning, in terms of people reading it. The article's called, well, now we've got to get this right. The lion is in the room. Does the UK want to lead the training or watch from the doorway? So stablecoins, the lion is in the room. Stablecoins are here. And the question is, does the UK want to lead the training or watch from the doorway, from the sidelines? That's a great question. If stablecoins are your thing, then please do look at what John has written on Payments Unpacked. So I'm going to draw this session to a close. I can't see a timer. I don't know how long we've been going. It is a Substack Live. It's called Friday Focus. I don't know. Will we do another one? Will it replace Payments Unpacked, a YouTube channel, Much Ado About Payments? Will it change the podcast much? What's that one called? Payments on a Tangent? I don't know. It's certainly easier just doing one of these with a couple of notes and sharing some thoughts. Maybe next time we'll even announce it. We'll schedule it so that people know and can join, and maybe then want to ask a question. If you've been trying to ask a question, it hasn't come up on my screen. I can see folk of joining. I can see Angela, I can see Tom, I can see some others. So thank you for joining. Hopefully you're enjoying this. So next time we'll probably announce it. If you haven't already subscribed to the Payments Unpacked newsletter, sign up at payments-unpacked.com. It's completely free. You don't have to make a contribution to it. Join the thousands that read that presently. If retail payments infrastructure, from the ashes of new payment architecture, we're seeing the rise of a concept called a new retail payment infrastructure is your thing. I'm calling it a new RPI. I was responsible for new BACS. I was part of new CHAPS. New payment architecture was interwoven into my career and experience at the regulator, at a supplier, and as a payment system operator. So I'm pretty interested in what will happen into how a new retail payment infrastructure will launch in the UK. Hi, Henry. How a new retail payment infrastructure will arrive in the UK, what that might mean for the transfer of value from A to B, but also how it might fit with new forms of money like CBDC, like stable coins, and a whole host of things that we haven't thought about at all. So if payments are your thing, if the infrastructure, if the rails are your thing, we've been launching a newsletter which is very focused on what's happening in that world. To sign up at newrpi.uk, that's newrpi.uk, and you'll find loads more about the new retail payment infrastructure concept here in the UK. So payments-unpacked.com for all the stuff about payments, newrpi.uk in terms of retail payment infrastructure. And if you like video, we are trying our best on a YouTube channel called Payments Unpacked. So do check us out on YouTube as well and subscribe there. But I think for now, that's it. Thank you for joining this Substack Live. It was an experiment. Next time we'll announce it and we'll see who joins and have a conversation. But for now, it's Friday Focus. This is Payments Unpacked. Have a great weekend.